But first tonight, the big political face-off. The Rafale war has returned once again, this time with more deadly ammunition. French news portal Mediapart has claimed that Dassault Aviation allegedly paid at least rupees 65 to a middleman, Sushen Gupta, to secure the sale of the Rafale fighter aircrafts between 2007 and 12 during the UPA government. And later, the allegation is that the CBI during the NDA regime actually covered up and did not probe the matter. A face-off now between the BJP and the Congress, both accusing the other of being involved in corruption. It's our top focus tonight.
The multi-million crore Rafale jet deal is again in the eye of the storm. French news portal Mediapart has dropped more bombshell. Mediapart reports that Dassault Aviation allegedly paid 7.5 million euros or 65 crore rupees to one middleman to secure a deal to sell the Rafale aircraft to India. The alleged kickbacks were paid during the UPA regime between 2007 and 2012 to middleman Sushen Gupta's Mauritius company Interstellar Technologies. Mediapart claims the NDA government that took office in 2014 was aware of the payoffs but did not investigate it. The website says the Mauritius Attorney General wrote to the CBI in 2018, informing the agency of the suspected kickbacks. The fresh allegations have triggered a fierce political face-off. The BJP has accused the Congress party of payoff, and the Congress in return has charged the government at the centre with a cover-up.
Sushen Gupta was actively leaking documents from the Defence Ministry and helping Dassault. Those documents also point out that Sushen Gupta had offered Dassault that he will organize a meeting between Dassault and the leadership. He was hired by Dassault in 2000, Vajpayee's government. And he continued getting money all through 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2012, and now 2015, 16, 17. 2017, 1 million euros.
This is too much of a coincidence that an agent, a middleman, who was commissioned for Augusta Westland case, in fact, is the kingpin, is the commission agent, is the middleman. In the Rafale case also, during 2007 and 2012. And too much of coincidence is always a conspiracy. ये तार कहां तक जुड़ते हैं, ये विवेचना के विषय हैं.
Congress Member of Parliament Rahul Gandhi, who claimed corruption in the Rafale deal ahead of the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, in a tweet addressing the Congress workers, said truth is on their side. But he did not elaborate on the charges that kickbacks happened under the UPA government. The Congress party also resurrected the VVIP Augusta Westland chopper deal. It accused the government at the centre of lifting a ban on the Fin Mechanica, which was blacklisted over allegations of corruption in the helicopter deal. The chopper contract was cancelled following the charges.
Augusta Westland तो कंपनी है, पहले इसको डिबार किया गया, ब्लैक लिस्ट किया गया, इनको भ्रष्ट माना गया, जैसे राहुल जी ने कहा, बताया है, और अब उस पर बैन हटा दिया गया है. अब वो सब पाक साफ हो गई है. अब आगे देखिएगा इनको क्या लाभ पहुंचाने का कोई सिलसिला बनता है या वैसे ही है.
Whatever has to be done with the Augusta deal, or with any other kind of deal, with any deal which has gone, where there are questions or allegations of corruption, they are going to be investigated. They are being investigated. Prime Minister Modi's government has gone hammer and tongs after everyone who has defrauded this country.
Bitter war of word has broken between BJP and Congress on the issue of Rafale. And not just Rafale, even VVIP chopper deal is back in news ahead of the winter session of the Parliament. With BJP and Congress at loggerhead, it seems that we are heading into a stormy winter session of the Parliament. With journalist Ashok, this is Suprabh Bhardwaj for India Today in Delhi.
And earlier today, I spoke to the French journalist and one of the key whistleblowers from Mediapart, the French portal Yann Philippin. Listen in to his sensational disclosures now. joining me now is a very special guest. I'm joined by Yann Philippin. He is from the French portal, investigative portal Mediapart, which has brought out the latest Rafale expose, one of series of exposes brought out by Mediapart there, the French-based investigating website. Thanks very much, Yann, for joining me. I want to first come straight to the big expose that you've come up with to get clarity on it. Number one, am I right to say that you have, as you've shown, documents which are allegedly invoices that Sushen Gupta, the alleged middleman, raised against the manufacturer of Rafale, Dassault, for about 7.5 million euros between 2007 and 12 for facilitating the Rafale deal. So were these kickbacks given to him in this 5-year period? Because the actual deal was signed in 2015.
Yes, that's exact. But as you know, there's been two periods in the deal. First period is a tender for 126 aircraft that has been launched under the UPA government. And this tender has been won by Dassault in 2012. And then between 2012 and 2015, so under the two governments, UPA and then BJP, there's been an attempt to finalize this contract, this first contract. And this was a failure. And then in 2015, the actual Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, decided to cancel the tender and to sign an intergovernmental agreement for only 36 aircraft. And yes, indeed, the documents that we reveal prove that the middleman Sushen Gupta that helped Dassault during the process received 7.5 million euros of secret commission through allegedly fake invoices and through a shell company in Mauritius, yes, between 2007 and 2012, so meaning during the tender process.
So he got his kickbacks during the tender process. He had nothing to do with the final deal that was signed by Prime Minister Modi in 2015?
No, he was also involved during the final deal. And that's what's really interesting, is that Mr. Gupta's activity was during the whole process. Because what we revealed in a previous investigation already published by Mediapart in April is that when the final deal, the intergovernmental agreement, has been negotiated under the Modi government back in 2015 and 2016, Mr. Gupta was still the middleman of Dassault. And most importantly, he obtained secret documents from the Indian Ministry of Defense about the activity of the Indian negotiators. And more precisely, he obtained very sensitive documents about the way the Indian negotiators were calculating the prices of the aircraft, which is, of course, very important for such an expensive contract, which is around 8 billion euros. And shortly after this, after this second phase, Mr. Gupta also received money from Dassault, but in another way. One of his companies obtained a 1 million euro contract to manufacture Rafale models, and it also received offset contracts, on the final deal, but unfortunately we could not discover how much these offset contracts are worth. So to sum up, he's been active during the two periods, and he has been paid by Dassault during the two periods of the contract, both the tender and the intergovernmental agreement.
You're saying something very important. You're telling me that Sushen Gupta got bribes or kickbacks both during 2007-12, the tender process, and during the finalization of the intergovernment agreement, because the documents that you have put out only confine themselves to 2007-12, but you're telling me that Sushen Gupta was involved all the way to 2015-16 to the finalization of the deal, and therefore he got kickbacks at both times. But you have evidence only for 2007-12. Am I correct?
No, we also have evidence for the other period. The story that we published on Sunday is about new evidence during the tender process, so the UPA era. But in previous reports that we already published and that are available online, we already published evidence of Mr. Gupta's activity and Mr. Gupta remuneration by Dassault during the final phase of the Contra under BJP government. So no, we have proof about the two periods, but it's just that our latest report is about the first period.
Right. So he also got benefits from the offset contracts once the deal was finalized. That's what you're saying.
Yes, and that's not me that's saying it. That's Dassault itself. Because, it comes from an official press release in which Dassault published the names of several Indian companies that benefited from these offsets. And among these names, there is, of course, Reliance, which participation in this offset has caused major turmoil already. But in this list of Indian companies benefiting from the offset, there is also a company called DevSys Solutions, which belongs to the Gupta family. So Dassault itself is acknowledging
both during the UPA government. So governments
offset contracts.
Right. So Yann, governments changed in India, but Mr. Gupta continued to work with Dassault and got benefits both during the UPA time and the NDA time.
Exactly.
Okay. Also importantly, you've said that on October 11, 2018, the Attorney General of Mauritius, because it was through a Mauritius company that Gupta got these kickbacks, that the Attorney General of Mauritius wrote to the Indian government saying that Gupta was the beneficiary, was the middleman. Am I correct?
Yes, that's the other very interesting revelation that Mediapart published on Sunday evening, is that, so on the 11th of October 2018, the CBI director received documents from the Attorney General of Mauritius proving the payment of 7.5 million euros commissions from Dassault to Mr. Gupta between 2007 and 2012, so during the tender process. And what's even more interesting is that just 1 week earlier, on the 4th of October, the director of CBI had also received a complaint that of alleged corruptions that was about the second phase of the deal, what happened during Mr. Modi's government. And so in just a period of time of 1 week, the CBI received documents and serious allegations about both periods of the contract, both UPA and BGP. And despite this, the CBI decided not to open an investigation.
You're saying something again huge. You're telling me that Mr. Gupta's kickbacks were known to the CBI, or documentary trail was available as early as October 2018. This is an interesting period because this is the very period when the CBI director, then CBI director Alok Verma is replaced. You're telling me that those documents were with the CBI, but they did not prosecute Mr. Gupta, who interestingly, Yann, was then prosecuted and arrested in the Augusta Westland helicopter case.
Exactly. It's exactly what happened. The CBI received these documents. Yes, indeed, the CBI director has been abruptly fired. I don't remember exactly, but I think it's around 10 days or 2 weeks later. I don't know why.
Yes,
I know that there's been allegations in the Indian press that there could be a link with these Rafale problems, but again, I don't know. It's what I read in Indian newspapers. So there's still a mystery about the reasons why the CBI director has been fired. But what is sure is that the CBI knew about all this as early as October 2018 and didn't open a probe.
And what are the French authorities doing about it? The fact that until now Dassault has claimed that there were no kickbacks given, they continuously insist that they gave no kickbacks. How do you see it now playing out, given the fact that the French authorities are also, there's a judge who's supposed to investigate this very trail?
So we'll see. In fact, what happened is that when Mediapart published its first series of revelations that we call the Rafale papers back in April 2001, this triggered a complaint from an NGO that filed basically a new complaint based on Mediapart's reports to the French justice. And as a consequence, the French justice opened a probe in the month of July, so in July 2021, which has been handed over to two independent investigating judges. And now, basically, that's up to them to investigate.
I want, therefore, one final clarification, Yann, because what you're saying is critical. You're saying kickbacks received during the tender process 2007 to 12 UPA times, and then again benefits, kickbacks received during the signing of the intergovernmental agreement to Sushen Gupta on both stages. The final documents giving this trail were provided to the CBI in 2018. These are the three parts, in a sense, of your story. Am I correct? 27 to 2012, what happens in 2015, 2016, and then in 2018? Yeah,
that's exactly that.
So it appears, would I be right in calling it a giant cover-up?
The evidence that the CBI received on October 2018 from Mauritius was about the tender process. But just at the same moment, they also received a complaint over allegation of favoritism and alleged corruption during the second phase of the process.
So these are explosive revelations coming in that lead us to our big questions tonight. Is it now clear that kickbacks were paid when the UPA was in power to the middleman? Did the middleman also benefit during the NDA rule? And did the CBI crucially sit on the kickback documents that were provided by the Mauritius AG? And is the Modi government now ready for a full probe and a JPC into the alleged kickbacks as the opposition wants? Nalin Kohli, BJP spokesperson, Pawan Khera, Congress spokesperson on our face-off tonight. Pawan Khera, to you first, because this story starts from 2007 to 12 when, according to Mediapart, the documents clearly show fake invoices that led to kickbacks worth 7.5 million euros being paid to Sushen Gupta. Can the UPA therefore come into this debate with clean hands when that part seems to be clear?
Okay. Rajdeep, the story actually starts much before that. The previous expose of Mediapart, and I have it with me, which was on the 7th of March 2021, they say he was hired at the beginning of 2000. Whose government was it? Mr. Vajpayee's government. Are we trying to suggest that if a private company hires a middleman anywhere in the world, the government of the day will be accused of corruption? If yes, then let's investigate the crores of rupees that he received. And I have those documents also. Here are those documents when Mr. Vajpayee was the Prime Minister. So are we trying to suggest that Mr. Vajpayee's government was indulging into some corruption? We cannot say that, because unless we can show a quid pro quo between Dassault and Mr. Vajpayee's government, we cannot prove this. Likewise, under the UPA, let's assume that Mr. Sushen Gupta received some money from a private company in France. What was the quid pro quo? Did the deal fructify? We were tough on our negotiations, so much so, Rajdeep, that one member of parliament raised a voice, said that Eurofighter is cheaper. Mr. Anthony got up, started the investigation, started to find out whether we can get a cheaper option. That was the reason of the delay. So here we have a government, which has a clear quid pro quo. The same Mediapart report of 7th March says that Sushen Gupta's services are being hired by Thales because Sushen is on good terms with the president of BJP, Amit Shah, the finance minister, Arun Jaitley, and head of the Indian Air Force, Anup Raha. Again, the same Mediapart, which is the previous series. Unfortunately, the media chose to ignore this. We tried raising this even when this came out. But suddenly the media has become very active. UPA, boss. Where is the quid pro quo? And what about Amit Shah?
Okay,
the name of Amit Shah figuring in Mediapart.
You're saying, Mr. Khera, where is the quid pro quo? The same Sushen Gupta was arrested in 2019 by the NDA Modi government in the Augusta Westland deal, the helicopter deal that was struck when the UPA was in power. So Sushen Gupta is the middleman who gets the benefit during the Augusta Westland deal, which was struck, which was finalized, and apparently got it during the tender process of the Rafale deal. So clearly Sushen Gupta also had a strong link during the UPA years with defense manufacturers, and he was arrested by the NDA government.
Point number one, who ordered the inquiry in Augusta Westland? Manmohan Singh government. Who cancelled the deal and asked for the bank guarantee? Manmohan Singh government. How can you accuse that government of corruption, which just on a whiff, on a suspicion, minor suspicion of foul play, ordered cancellation of the contract, unlike this government, which claims that UPA took the commission but runs away from investigation. अरे जब हमने कमीशन लिया है तो आप बच के क्यों भाग रहे हो इंक्वायरी से? करिए ना, आपको तो सूट करता है। और हम 5 साल से मांग कर रहे हैं कि करिए इंक्वायरी, करिए इंक्वायरी। That's
very interesting. That's very interesting, Nalin Kohli. It's the Congress today, and not just today, but even yesterday or over the last few years, that has been asking for an inquiry for a JPC, and the BJP is refusing it. What is very astonishing is that on October 11, 2018, you receive evidence of these 7.5 million euros kickbacks. They are given to the CBI director, and yet there is no probe. And the same CBI director, 12 days later, on October 23rd, is removed in a midnight coup. Why did the BJP not act on this information? Why has it required 3 years later this information to come into public domain? And it is true that according to Mediapart, the person involved, Sushen Gupta, was known to Amit Shah, Arun Jaitley and other BJP leaders.
So Rajdeep, you would agree I've heard very patiently your question and also what Mr. Khera has said without any interruption. So I'll just expect the same courtesy. Let's go one by one. Only the Congress party can cover up gross incompetence as a virtue, and then on the second side try to brazen out what clearly is a commission at their end. And I will answer everything that's been asked. Let's start with the last question. That so-called Sushen Gupta seems to have known Amit Bhai or Arun Ji or anyone else. So just go back to the Jain Hawala diaries. I'll pick up a diary just now and I'll write down in that diary that I have given 200 crores to Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, 300 to Rahul Gandhi and 400 to Ms. Priyanka Vadra. So is that going to be the evidence? Somebody goes, makes a claim to take money and collect it from some company, and you say that the person he's dropping names is the guilty. I mean, there's a new jurisprudence. Go and read your Jain Hawala. Number 2, that was the judgment. Number 2, let's go to the case here. The money is taken and given in the period 2007 to 12. And what does Mr. Khera bring up? Oath. Where did the deal take place? I mean, Mr. Anthony will go down in the history of India to be the defense minister who ensured that India's security was compromised to levels that when the NDA government of Prime Minister Modi came in, we didn't even have ammunition for 10 days of war if God forbid we had to face it. You didn't have stock of ammunitions and even bombs. This was the case. 10 years they sit on a deal. And because why? A middleman is collecting money during their tenure, paying it to them while they are in government, and a deal doesn't take place. It begs the question that what was it? That they were staying back for greater commissions? Fine, then let's move. The deal happens under the NDA government of Prime Minister Modi, government to government. So are we now to believe that a government is paying a commission to another government?
Dassault is paying.
I mean,
Commission is paid by
bilateral
Dassault.
That is signed between two
Mr.
governments.
Kohli,
This is a new argument that's being brought.
No, 1 minute.
Yes.
It may be a government-to-government deal. The payment as per Mediapart in both instances is paid by Dassault. A. And the critical question is, all this information, even of the kickbacks, is given to the CBI on October 11, 2018. The government doesn't order a probe, instead removes the CBI director in a midnight coup. Unprecedented. What did the BJP have to hide?
Nothing. And why should the BJP have anything to hide if the corruption has happened always under the Congress?
Exactly.
Is there a single deal in which there's corruption? Can you please just recall your... Yes, Sambit, Mr. Sardesai, you will have to have the patience to hear me out.
Go ahead.
You are 15 seconds away and you break my thought.
Go ahead.
And every time you break my thought, I have to repeat what I have to say, which obviously is an unnecessary waste of time. So again, let me start at the top of what I was saying. I was saying that why should the BJP have anything to hide? Has the BJP gone in here and done any corruption? All the corrupt deals happened during the UPA. And that's where the commission agents were there. So Sushen Gupta, was he in jail or not? I am no spokesperson for the CBI, ED or Sushen Gupta. But your channel, as other channels have reported, that he was in jail, being investigated. Now it may be Augusta Westland, but how do you make an assumption that he's not being investigated for this? Has the CBI told you they are not investigating it? Have you gone ahead and sent your reporter and got a clear, unequivocal thing from the CBI or an agency saying that they are not investigating him for other things? As a lawyer, I know if you are there investigating someone, collecting evidence in that you send him to jail, you may be well on the way to file a charge sheet which is supplementary to something else.
That's not what the CBI. That's not what the CBI told the Supreme Court, Mr. Kohli. That's not what the CBI told the Supreme Court.
I'll come to the CBI director also. I'll come to the CBI director's story, Mr. Sardesai. Recall.
Yes.
Please recall that the Congress party tried to flag and flog the Rafale issue, in which they made all allegations. This matter went to no less than the Supreme Court. All papers were given in a sealed envelope to the Supreme Court. They said nothing is wrong here. Now, what did the Congress party want? Make public what are the munitions, missiles, whatever bought in the deal. I mean, the ISI is waiting for that information. So must be China.
No, sir.
So what does Congress want? First, they don't take the aircraft.
Did the CBI provide the documents of the kickbacks? Did the CBI provide the documents of the kickbacks that were made available by the AG of Mauritius to the Supreme Court? Why is it scared of a JPC? Why are you unwilling to probe it? If it's a Congress kickback, you should be hammering the Congress.
Sardesai,
make it public. Expose the Congress.
No. Of course we are hammering the Congress. Of course we are hammering the Congress.
So why did you not provide it to the Supreme Court?
That's why Prime Minister Modi's government has gone after everyone. Mr. Sardesai, have the patience to hear and answer. Mr. Sardesai, have the patience, and I really implore you, have the patience to hear and answer if you ask a question. If you wish to answer it yourself, you don't need me.
Yes.
I mean, just go ahead and answer it yourself and make your assumption. You are entitled to. It's your show. So let me finish what I'm saying.
May I be allowed?
And you break my trail of thought, Mr. Sardesai. What waste time is what, Mr. Khera? Just because I'm making an argument against you is a waste of time for you. You're entitled to believe that.
Make any argument.
Let the public decide whether it's a waste of time or not. But let me come to the point.
Mr. Khera, 1 minute. I'll come to you, Mr. Khera, in a moment.
This entire thing, sorry, Pawan, if you want to interrupt me and try to get down, I'll give it back to you in your own point.
No, Mr. Kohli,
I'm capable of also talking over you.
Don't you dare threaten me.
Yes. Now please repeat your question. Please repeat your question.
Sir, I will, Mr. Khera, 1 minute.
I've actually forgotten what you wanted me to answer.
Mr. Kohli, I will ask you one last time. Why is it that the BJP government was reluctant, has not provided these documents of the AG of Mauritius to the Supreme Court or probed them? Yes, why have you not done it? If these kickbacks did take place, why is it that the government has repeatedly said that the Dassault deal has no kickbacks?
No, on what basis are you making that assumption,
because the public statement of the government in Parliament has been there were no kickbacks.
On what basis are you making that assumption?
Sir, because the government's deal, whether Manohar Parrikar, Nirmala Sitharaman have said there were no kickbacks.
And then you will not wait for an answer. I mean, honestly, you have to have the patience to hear an answer if you have a question.
You're not answering my question.
So we are back to square one, as it was 2 minutes or 3 minutes ago. I'm not. I'm trying to answer it when you are interrupting me, Mr. Sardesai. I'm saying, why are you making that assumption? On what basis are you making that assumption? Were you there in the Supreme Court seeing the sealed envelope? Can you say with certainty, are you saying the Chief Justice of India or that bench was not competent enough to see all the things? Why are you making that assumption, and on what basis?
Okay.
If you have a credible basis to make an assumption, please make so. You can't make it on just some surmises and then say that the BJP...
Now it's time. Please let Pawan Khera also respond. Pawan Khera, the argument according to the BJP is on what basis are you making the assumption? Just a minute, sir. What basis are you making the assumption that there has been no probe into Sushen Gupta, who as of today stands arrested and jailed in the Augusta Westland case?
Rajdeep, what happened on 26 March 2019? I think a major critical link we are missing out in this debate. On 26 March 2019, the Enforcement Directorate goes and raids Sushen Gupta in another matter, in Augusta matter. What do they recover? They recover the benchmark price document dated 10th of August 2015. Whose government? Mr. Modi's government. They recover the record of discussions by the Indian negotiation team of the Defense Ministry. This is a highly sensitive document. Why was it in the possession of Mr. Sushen Gupta? No one knows. Who was raiding him? Mr. Modi's Enforcement Directorate. When was this? 26 March 2019. Number 3, Excel sheet of calculations made by the Defense Ministry, Government of India. Number 4, Eurofighters counter offer made in a confidential letter to Mr. Arun Jaitley, wherein they offered a 20% discount on the bid price. Number 5, and this is critical, and my friend Mr. Kohli would not like it. A note dated 24th June 2014, whose government? Mr. Modi's government, sent to Dassault by Sushen Gupta offering a meeting with, quote unquote, the political high command. Now these documents are with the ED since 26th March 2019. Where is the inquiry? We know why they would not hold the inquiry, because the political high command in this case is none other than Mr. Narendra Damodar Das Modi. That's the reason. Now, he is talking about Mr. Antony not fructifying the deal. We negotiated for 526 crore per aircraft, including transfer of technology. Mind you, they negotiate the same aircraft without transfer of technology for 1,670 crores. And I shouldn't say they, I should say he, because it was the Prime Minister who took personal interest. He's saying, my friend is saying that there is an intergovernmental agreement. Therefore, the Prime Minister has no business to intervene personally again, get the integrity clause removed. The Defense Ministry wanted the integrity clause to be there because the third party was a company, private company. The Prime Minister intervenes, overrules the Defense Ministry, gets the anti-corruption clause removed. Commission हमने ली है, anti-corruption clause आप हटा रहे हैं. आप हमें बचाने के लिए इतनी मेहनत क्यों कर रहे हैं? आप तो फंसाइए ना हमें.
Nalin Kohli, I know you will say, I will keep asking you this. All these, just a minute, sir.
I don't need a question. I will rebut it point by point.
Okay, respond.
I'll rebut it point by point, Mr. Sardesai, and I must rebut it. Because some wild allegations have been made. Number one, I'll start with the last one.
Yes.
I am going to rebut each one point by point.
Yes.
So let's go one by one. Mr. Kheda probably has never bought a car. So you can buy a car, a base model, and you can add anything on it, and the car price may go up from 10 lakhs to 40 lakhs. The same is the case when you go and buy an aircraft with your missiles and your armaments. Your base price of the aircraft may be 500 crores. After that, depending on what missile you buy and what armament you buy, it may go up to 2,000 crores also. Number two, why a middleman? Why is the corruption thing removed? Because the middleman is removed. If you will recall, in 2014 itself, the then Defense Minister Manohar Parrikar ji said that, look, you can laugh on it. I'm going to answer something which you won't like, Pawan, now. So therefore, the then Defense Minister said, we are not keeping any middlemen. We are doing a government to government. Therefore, where is the question of corruption? Number three, I say the Prime Minister, he has no business to negotiate. That is what you say. Of course, under the UPA, you absolutely reduce the institution of the Prime Minister to making it a Secretary to Government of India, possibly or even lower. Because all the power was outside the government. So how dare the Prime Minister of India do something for the benefit of India?
I can also resort to rhetoric.
How dare he do something for the benefit of India? That's a new argument, Mr. Kheda.
No, 1 minute. 1 minute. Just a minute, Mr. Kheda. Mr. Kheda, just a minute.
So yours is facts, but mine is not facts. Because they suit you, so they are facts.
Not allowed.
I
People
like that.
expect better from you. You are a qualified lawyer.
Oh, that's exactly what you're doing, Mr. Kheda.
That's left for your other spokesperson. Sorry, I will come up with more facts. Please don't counter my facts with your fiction and rhetoric.
Pawan.
Sorry. No, I'm not getting agitated. Your Prime Minister will get agitated very soon.
It's your facts, but my fiction.
Just a minute, Mr. Kheda. Mr. Kheda, 1 minute. I'm going to ask both of you.
No, wait.
I am going to ask both of you a pointed question.
No, this is really funny. His statements are facts, mine is rhetoric. Why should it not be the vice versa?
I want to give you another fact.
Yes.
Quoting from the same Mediapart. When the agency's
okay, so tell us the name of the
found
person who took the money between 2007 and 2012. Give us that name and we will believe that you
No, Nalin Kohli, both of you listen to each other.
Behave like an educated man, don't interrupt.
Yes, go ahead.
In 2016, why was 1 million euro paid?
Pawan, don't make it personal. I'm sorry, Pawan. How dare you say behave like an educated man? Who are you to give me a lecture whether I'm educated or not, Mr. Kheda? And I'll put it right down there. I'm not sitting here to take your platitudes in determining. I'm sorry. If you are going to be interrupted, then you deserve to be interrupted. How dare you say behave like an educated man? And I will not participate in a debate if I'm going to be demeaned by
I will ask both of you to keep your volume, producer volume down. I will ask both of you a straight, simple question for which I want a clear answer. You, Pawan Kheda, you want a JPC probe? Are you ready for a JPC probe into a sensitive aircraft deal which you believe? Are you ready? Is that what you want? Is that the only way out now, according to the Congress party?
You're asking me, Rajdeep?
Yes.
Rajdeep, we have been asking for a JPC probe because we know exactly the role of the Prime Minister here. He overruled the law ministry twice, not once,
Even
on the sovereign guarantee issue.
Even after the Supreme Court has dismissed your petition, you still want the JPC based on fresh facts.
Mr. Sardesai, where in the Supreme Court did you see the ED findings, which post-dates the Supreme Court? Supreme Court happened before 26 March 2019. Supreme Court happened in December 2018. On 26 March 2019, ED recovers these sensitive documents being leaked by this middleman from Mr. Modi's defense ministry and given to Dassault. That's why 5.09 billion, which was our INT's price, went up to 7.87. Again, the Prime Minister intervened and allowed the price escalation.
Okay.
The CAG was not given.
You believe fresh facts demand the JPC. You made your point. Mr. Khera, you were Nalin Kohli. Why you've not given a very strong answer? Why was that integrity anti-corruption clause removed? And now it's very clear that Sushen Gupta, according to Mediapart, was involved in this entire process till 2016. Why did Nirmala Sitharaman, Manohar Parrikar and every BJP leader on the floor of Parliament said there were no kickbacks? Clearly, Mr. Sushen Gupta is a beneficiary.
No. First of all, Mr. Sardesai, I take offense and I'm registering my protest. I'm not going to stand in a debate or sit in it with someone saying behave like an educated man. Certainly not. I expected Mr. Khera to be a gentleman.
No, Mr. Khera, please.
And you as an anchor should have asked him to withdraw that statement.
Why don't you say that?
No, you should have asked him to withdraw that statement.
Mr. Khera, you are a good friend of Nalin Kohli. Withdraw the statement and move on.
This is just not done. Absolutely. But I absolutely withdraw it and let's close the chapter. That's all I'm asking.
Okay. Now answer my question.
No, 1 minute. Is that statement withdrawn? Let him withdraw that statement. I will answer everything. But I'm not going to allow someone to make it personal against me because there are others who may be comfortable with it. I don't accept this kind of thing.
इनके पास जवाब नहीं है तो बहाने ढूंढ रहे हैं बच के भागने के. इनको मत भागने दीजिएगा. रोकिए इनको. बोलिए.
Mr. Sardesai,
will you let me anchor the show?
The Congress party is welcome to come like Mr. Khera on television, make personal comments.
यहाँ गुंडा.
अरे छोड़िए, आपके बहाने नहीं चाहिए, Mr. Khera. You are entitled to drop to the level that your party and its leadership has fallen. Congratulations and good luck to you.
Okay. तो चले जाओ ना, बहाने क्यों बना रहे हो?
अरे छोड़िए, मुझे आपको क्या जवाब देना? आप लोग अपने ना नौटंकी रखिए जा रखना है. आपको यही भाषा समझ आती है.
Time out. Two perfectly fine gentlemen. I hope that you all can have a drink after this program with each other. That's the least I would expect, that both Nalin Kohli and Pawan Khera just respond next time just to the questions without getting into any personal elements. You all are two very fine party spokespersons and decent gentlemen. Okay. Thank you both very much though for joining me. And I hope, as I said, that you will make up in a few days.